It is known as the Atascosa ambush, a brutal attack on law enforcement that took the lives of 3 peace officers. 15 years later, a man that did not pull the trigger is behind bars, and families of the fallen officers still struggle with their loss.
Fox San Antonio's Emily Bockham reveals the scars of that deadly night and why one widow has made peace with the man held responsible.
October 1999. A man makes a bogus 911 call, lures law enforcement to his home, ambushes them, and then turns the gun on himself. Texas State Trooper Terry Miller went to work that night and never came home.
We've had children that are survivors.
Neither did Atascosa Sheriff's Deputy Mark Stevenson.
They've had to survive.
Or his co-worker, Deputy Thomas Monsey.
And this, of course, is Thomas. I feel like he had a call in his life to be an officer. He loved people and he wanted to make a difference.
Family photos remind his widow, Alice.
This is when they were little.
How much life has changed.
We have 7 grandkids now, that he never got to see.
Since that awful night 15 years ago.
I've come a long way from that.
The road to justice started outside this trailer, took a turn at death row, and might end at this prison in East Texas.
Yeah, been a while since I talked about it.
Kenneth Vodahosky is behind bars for the ambush, but he didn't pull the trigger.
I wasn't the one who killed these people.
But they still believe you have blood on your hands.
I don't think that'll ever change.
The gunman was Vodahosky's friend. The day before, he had bailed the gunman out of jail, and they stocked up on ammunition.
We had already established a weekend trip with his brother to go to the shooting range.
And then, this ominous warning.
And he says, I called 911. If you don't want to be a part of this, you need to leave. And I didn't know what to do. I panicked. When we saw it on the news, I cried.
With the gunman dead, Vodahosky was arrested and later sentenced to death row under the law of parties.
In simplest terms, I guess the description of the law of parties is if you aid, attempt to aid, direct, encourage, or assist in any way, then you're held equally liable as the person who actually committed the crime.
The prosecution's argument, he knew his friend was about to do something dangerous but didn't try to stop it.
I look at it like this. What if he weren't going to do anything and my calling the police sparked it in him to go ahead and do it, So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Meanwhile, Alice struggled to raise 4 kids without their father.
When we went to court, and Kenneth ended up on death row, I felt justified in everything that went on.
The family celebrated milestones, graduations, weddings, but Alice says memories were fading.
It makes me cry even now, and he was a child then. He said, Mom, I forgot what Dad's laughter sounds like.
During those first few years of mourning, another shock. Vodahosky's case was overturned on appeal due to weak evidence. He would be leaving death row.
It was a landmark decision that overturned my case.
He struck a plea deal that will keep him in prison through the year 2030. Until then, he's eligible for parole every 5 years.
Why should you be saved?
It's a good question. Never been asked that before. Why should I be saved?
He says going to prison rerouted his life from a bad path
I was, a wild child
to a spiritual one. Vodahosky works in the prison cafeteria and craft shop and spends his free time meditating.
I personally think that I've learned and grown.
But the community that buried 3 officers isn't so sure. Last year, people in Atascosa County begged the parole board not to make Vodahosky a free man, and they won.
I don't blame them for their anger and animosity and pain, I don't blame them.
If they would have let him go, it would have made me sad. I can't sit here and lie to you that it wouldn't. But it isn't because of his freedom. It's because he goes back to a life. We don't have that.
Thomas was just 30 years old when he was taken away from his family. If Vodahosky serves his entire sentence, he'll be 49 when he gets out of prison.
I pray for him now. I do. I pray for him. I pray for his family.
Alice wonders if he'll ever reveal everything that happened that deadly night.
I know in my heart I've always felt that he knows more. I've always felt that he could have done more.
I'm sorry for your pain. I know there's nothing I can say that would take that pain away, but, I'm sorry that you feel that way.
The scars of grief run deep. But Alice has learned to move beyond the man held responsible for taking her husband's life.
Hatred is a chain around your neck.
Instead, she wears the badge of the man who brought her flowers every Friday, the man whose grave her children visit when they need strength.
I've come to a place where I have found my peace with where my life is now. If I could change it, oh my God, of course, I would change it in an instant, but I can't.
Vodahosky is up for parole again in 5 years. He says when the time is right, the words will flow and he'll write a message to the families of the fallen officers. Emily Balcom, Fox News at 9.